Discovering one of the world's most ancient structures, scientists say that they have found a mysterious chamber hidden deep inside Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza.
For millennia, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood sentinel on the Egyptian plateau, a silent testament to an ancient civilization's ambition and ingenuity. It's more than just a tomb, it's a monument wrapped in mystery defying easy explanation. We've mapped its known chambers, marveled at its scale, yet suspected it held more secrets within its massive stone heart. And recently, thanks to cutting-edge science, one of those secrets has been brought to light, a hidden corridor, undetected for 4,500 years.
Now, with the help of modern science, a breakthrough discovery. The hidden chamber stretches around 100 feet. It was discovered just above the Grand Gallery, a corridor that leads to the burial chamber of Pharaoh Khufu, for whom the pyramid was built.
This startling discovery, tucked away near the pyramid's northern face, promises not just a new space to explore, but potentially a new understanding of how and why this ancient wonder was built. But before we dive into the specifics of this hidden passage and what it might mean, we need to truly appreciate the colossal stage upon which this discovery plays out. Let's step back and consider the sheer wonder of the Great Pyramid itself. Standing on the Giza Plateau near modern-day Cairo, the Great Pyramid of Khufu isn't just big, it's monumental, almost unnervingly so. Built around 2600 BC during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu of the 4th dynasty, it remained the tallest human-made structure on Earth for an astonishing 3,800 years, originally reaching about 146.6 meters, 481 feet. Though slightly shorter now due to the loss of its outer casing stones and capstone, its sheer presence is humbling. Imagine 2.3 million massive stone blocks, averaging over 2.5 tons each, quarried, transported, and lifted into place with a precision that still baffles engineers today. The total weight, an estimated 6 million tons. It covers over 13 acres, with sides almost perfectly aligned to the cardinal directions. This wasn't just a vanity project, it was the centerpiece of a vast funerary complex designed to ensure the pharaoh's successful journey into the afterlife. Surrounding it were temples, causeways, smaller pyramids for queens, tombs for courtiers, and pits containing disassembled solar barks, boats intended for the king's celestial voyage. For the ancient Egyptians, this was a sacred landscape, a meticulously planned gateway between the world of the living and the realm of the gods. Inside, the known structure is relatively simple yet intriguing. There's an unfinished subterranean chamber cut into the bedrock, the enigmatic Queen's Chamber, likely a misnomer, its true purpose debated, and the King's Chamber higher up, home to a large empty granite sarcophagus. Connecting these are passages like the descending corridor leading down from the original entrance and the impressive ascending corridor and grand gallery leading up. These known spaces, while fascinating, have always felt somewhat sparse within such a vast structure, fueling centuries of speculation about hidden rooms and undiscovered secrets. It's this lingering question, is that all there is, that has kept the Great Pyramid at the forefront of archaeological curiosity and public fascination, making it a prime candidate for exploration with tools the original builders could never have imagined. The challenge is immense. How do you probe the secrets of a 4,500-year-old monument, a protected World Heritage Site, without causing any damage? Traditional archaeology often involves excavation, digging, and sometimes even dismantling structures, methods completely unthinkable for the Great Pyramid. For decades, researchers relied on careful measurement, analysis of existing spaces, and educated guesses, but the nagging possibility of hidden chambers remained just that, a possibility. Enter the Scan Pyramids project. Launched in 2015, this international multidisciplinary mission led by Cairo University and the French HIP Institute, Heritage Innovation Preservation, set out to do the impossible, see through the stones. Their goal was to apply cutting-edge, non-invasive technologies to explore the internal structures of Egypt's Old Kingdom pyramids, including Khufu's Great Pyramid, Khafre's Pyramid, the Bent Pyramid, and the Red Pyramid, searching for unknown voids and cavities. The star player in their technological toolkit is muon tomography. Think of it like a cosmic X-ray, but vastly more powerful. Our planet is constantly bombarded by cosmic rays, high-energy particles from space. When these rays hit Earth's upper atmosphere, they create a shower of secondary particles, including muons. Muons are fascinating. They're heavier relatives of electrons and travel at nearly the speed of light. Crucially, about 10,000 muons rain down on every square meter of the Earth's surface every minute, and they can penetrate dense materials like stone far more effectively than X-rays can. Here's how it works for scanning a pyramid. Sensitive detectors are placed inside or around the structure. As muons pass through the pyramid, some are absorbed or deflected by the stone, while others pass straight through. Denser materials absorb more muons. If there's a void, an empty space, more muons will pass through that area compared to the surrounding solid stone. By tracking the paths and numbers of muons arriving at the detectors from different angles over extended periods, sometimes months, scientists can build up a three-dimensional map of density variations inside the pyramid. Areas where significantly more muons get through appear as hotspots, indicating lower density, a potential void. Scan pyramids didn't rely solely on muons, though. They also employed infrared thermography, looking for temperature differences on the pyramid's surface that might indicate internal structures affecting heat flow, 3D simulations, ground-penetrating radar, GPR, and ultrasonic testing. Where feasible, these latter two have limited depth penetration in such a massive structure, but can be useful near the surface. By combining data from these different techniques, the team aimed to cross-verify any anomalies detected and build a more confident picture of the pyramid's hidden interior, all without drilling a single hole or dislodging a single stone. It was a bold approach, blending particle physics, engineering, and archaeology to tackle one of history's greatest architectural mysteries. The breakthrough: finding the hidden corridor. The Scan Pyramids project began making waves early on, detecting thermal anomalies and potential voids. In 2016, muon detectors placed in the descending corridor picked up a significant signal, an excess of muons coming from a specific area above them near the pyramid's north face. This hinted strongly at the presence of an unknown empty space located behind the large, chevron-shaped blocks visible above the original entrance, though the current tourist entrance is slightly lower, created in the 9th century AD. This anomaly was designated SPNFC for Scan Pyramid's North Face Corridor. This wasn't just a fleeting blip. Multiple detection techniques started pointing to the same spot. Muon emulsion films from Nagoya University placed in the descending corridor confirmed the void. Later, between 2019 and 2020, real-time muon detectors developed by the CEA, French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission, were also positioned below the suspected area, further corroborating the findings. The data from different teams and different types of detectors consistently indicated a distinct elongated void. The location was intriguing, just behind and above the huge gabled structure, the chevrons, that marks the pyramid's original entrance. These chevrons themselves are a known architectural feature in pyramids, often thought to redirect the immense weight of the masonry above doorways and passages. Finding a void directly behind them immediately sparked questions about its purpose. Pinpointing the void's exact dimensions and characteristics required further refinement. More muon measurements were taken to precisely map its location, orientation, and size. Complementary techniques like ground-penetrating radar, GPR, and ultrasonic testing were employed on the outer face near the chevrons, feasible here because the suspected void was relatively close to the exterior, estimated around 80 centimeters behind the outer surface at points. These tests helped confirm the location and provided more detailed structural information. Finally, after years of careful scanning and cross-validation, the team was confident enough to attempt a minimally invasive visual confirmation. Using the high-frequency GPR data, they identified a tiny existing joint between the massive stone blocks of the chevrons. This minuscule gap, perhaps only millimeters wide, offered a potential pathway. In early 2023, the official announcement came. The team had successfully inserted a tiny 5mm diameter endoscopic camera through this joint. What they saw confirmed the scans. A previously unknown sealed corridor lay hidden within the pyramid structure. The data indicated a corridor approximately 9 meters, about 30 feet long, and roughly 2.1 meters, about 7 feet, wide, with a distinctive gabled or chevron-shaped ceiling. It was the first major new structural discovery inside the Great Pyramid using non-invasive techniques, a breakthrough validating the power of the technology and reigniting excitement about the pyramid's remaining secrets. What's inside? The first look. Peering through the tiny endoscope inserted through a natural joint in the massive stones, scientists got the first glimpse inside the North Face corridor in over 4,500 years. The images sent back weren't of glittering treasure or elaborate hieroglyphs. The interior surfaces of the Great Pyramid's passages are generally undecorated, a characteristic of the Old Kingdom period it was built in. Instead, the view was one of stark, functional architecture, seemingly untouched since the pyramid's construction. The most striking feature confirmed by the endoscope was the corridor's ceiling. Just like the chevrons visible on the outside, the ceiling inside was gabled, forming an inverted V shape, sometimes referred to as a saddle vault. This gabled design is a known technique used by ancient Egyptian builders, particularly effective at redirecting the immense pressure of the overlying stonework downwards and outwards, away from the space below. This immediately lent credence to the theory that the corridor served a structural, weight-relieving purpose. The corridor itself appeared roughly rectangular in cross-section beneath the gable, measuring about 2.1 meters, nearly 7 feet, wide and reaching a height of about 2.3 meters, around 7.5 feet, at the apex of the gable. Surprisingly tall if its only function was structural relief. The floor, though partially obscured by what looked like dust and some small debris, seemed relatively flat, possibly constructed from large stone blocks. Some analysis of the initial images suggested joints in the floor, perhaps indicating it wasn't made of single spanning beams like those in the relieving chambers above the king's chamber. The walls and ceiling displayed a somewhat rough, unfinished quality. Unlike the finely dressed stones sometimes used for interior chambers intended for ritual use, the surfaces here looked more rudimentary, suggesting this space might not have been meant to be seen or entered after construction was complete. There were no signs of decoration, inscriptions, or artifacts within the visible portion. It appeared essentially empty. The endoscope could only penetrate a short distance and provide a limited view, primarily looking southwards into the corridor from its northern end, just behind the entrance chevrons. The view confirmed the corridor extended horizontally into the pyramid for its approximate 9-meter, 30-foot length, seemingly ending at a solid back wall constructed of stone blocks. The scans had already indicated no significant void extending further south from this point, suggesting this was indeed the end of this particular feature. Some interesting details were noted, like small holes or indentations in the ceiling chevrons and potential fractures or staining patterns on the walls, hinting at the construction process or the effects of time, but the overwhelming impression was one of a simple, unadorned and empty space, sealed off and hidden for millennia. An ancient purpose, why build a secret space? The discovery of the North Face corridor immediately ignited debate among Egyptologists and engineers. Why did the ancient builders construct this 9-meter-long gabled space high above the pyramid's main entrance only to seal it off? Several compelling theories have emerged, each attempting to explain the corridor's existence based on structural principles, construction logistics, or even ritualistic beliefs, though the latter seems less likely given the rough finish. The most prominent theory centers on a structural function, weight relief. The massive chevrons visible on the exterior and the gabled ceiling inside the corridor are classic architectural elements designed to divert the immense downward pressure of the pyramid's core away from the passage below. The descending corridor, the original entrance passage, lies roughly 7 to 8 meters beneath the North Face corridor. Proponents of the weight relief theory argue that the builders incorporated this void to reduce the load bearing down on the descending corridor's ceiling, preventing potential collapse over time. This concept isn't new. Similar, smaller relieving chambers are known above the king's chamber, also featuring gabled granite beams to protect the flat ceiling below. The discovery of another gabled void seems to fit this pattern. Adding weight to this idea is the fact that earlier pyramids, like the Bent Pyramid at Dasha, experienced structural issues, possibly making Khufu's builders extra cautious. However, several counter-arguments challenge the purely structural explanation. Firstly, some experts point out that the north-face corridor is significantly higher above the descending corridor than the relieving chambers are above the king's chamber. If its sole purpose was protection, why build it so far above? Secondly, the descending corridor is relatively narrow, just over 1 meter wide and inclined, and similar passages in earlier pyramids show no signs of needing such substantial reinforcement high above them. Thirdly, detailed analysis of the endoscope images revealed features like seemingly matched pairs of chevron ceiling blocks and holes cut into them that some argue might slightly weaken the structure, contradicting a purely load-bearing function. Furthermore, the corridor's height, over 2 meters, seems excessive for just a structural void. A second major theory suggests the corridor was related to the pyramid's construction process. Perhaps it served as a temporary access point or workspace. Some researchers like Jean-Pierre Houdin have long proposed internal ramps were used to build the pyramid, and while this specific corridor doesn't directly confirm that complex theory, the idea of construction-related passages is plausible. Could it have been part of a system to install the massive chevron blocks themselves, or perhaps an access way that was later sealed? One analysis noted a hole cut into the floor near the north end, suggesting possible access to a now-destroyed space above the external entrance chevrons, perhaps related to testing or construction monitoring. The rough finish might also support a temporary functional purpose rather than a permanent ritual one. Against this, the corridor appears definitively sealed at the south end, suggesting it wasn't intended as a through passage after completion. A related idea combines structural and construction elements. Perhaps the corridor was primarily for weight relief, but its specific location and design were also influenced by the construction sequence or the need to maneuver the large chevron blocks into place. Could it lead to something else? While initial scans suggest the corridor terminates at a solid wall, the possibility, however remote, that it connects to a further, perhaps backfilled or very small passage remains tantalizing. Famous Egyptologist Zahi Hawass has speculated it might be protecting something deeper within, perhaps even the real burial chamber of Khufu, though current evidence doesn't strongly support this. The muon scans performed so far are sensitive enough to detect significant voids but might miss a passage deliberately filled with rubble or sand. Ultimately, without further investigation, the true purpose remains uncertain. The evidence points strongly towards a role in managing the pyramid's immense structural loads, but the specific details and potential secondary functions related to construction continue to fuel debate. It's a puzzle piece that adds complexity to our understanding of the pyramid's design. Shifting sands. Does this rewrite history? Does the discovery of a hidden 9-meter corridor inside the Great Pyramid rewrite Egyptian history? The short answer is likely no, not in the sense of overturning major timelines or narratives about who built the pyramids or why. Pharaoh Khufu still reigned during the 4th dynasty, the pyramid was still his tomb complex, and the basic chronology of ancient Egypt remains intact. However, the discovery absolutely refines our understanding and adds crucial, fascinating details to the story, particularly regarding the brilliance and complexity of ancient Egyptian engineering and architectural planning. This find doesn't suddenly reveal alien intervention or a lost civilization. Instead, it provides concrete evidence supporting the sophistication of the original builders. The weight distribution theory, if correct, demonstrates a deep, practical understanding of structural mechanics. The Egyptians weren't just piling stones, they were engineering solutions to manage colossal forces. The presence of the gabled ceiling, mirroring known techniques like those above the king's chamber, reinforces the idea of intentional planned design features to ensure the monument's longevity. They encountered engineering challenges and devised solutions, leaving evidence of their thought processes literally embedded in the stone. If the corridor served a purpose related to construction, it offers potential clues about how this seemingly impossible structure was erected. While this single corridor doesn't confirm grand theories like internal ramps wholesale, it adds to the picture of internal spaces potentially playing a role during the building phase. perhaps for access, leverage, or component placement before being sealed off. It encourages us to think more deeply about the logistics and sequence of construction. Was the pyramid built layer by layer from the outside in, or did a more complex process involving internal structures take place? This discovery keeps those questions alive and relevant. Furthermore, the discovery underscores the limitations of our previous knowledge. For centuries, we believed we knew the full layout of the pyramid's main internal features. Scanned pyramids proved there was more to find hidden in plain sight. It highlights the fact that even the most studied ancient monument on Earth still holds secrets. It suggests that the internal structure might be more complex, perhaps more Swiss cheese than cheddar, as Egyptologist Mark Lerner once quipped, than previously assumed. Critically, the discovery is a triumph for non-invasive archaeological methods. It proves that we can uncover significant new information about fragile heritage sites without damaging them. This methodological advance is historically significant, paving the way for future discoveries not just at Giza but globally. So rather than a rewrite, think of it as adding a significant, previously unknown paragraph, or perhaps even a short chapter, to the history of the Great Pyramid's construction. It doesn't change the main characters or the plot, but it enriches the narrative, revealing more about the builder's ingenuity, foresight, and the intricate processes involved in creating this enduring wonder. It prompts new questions and forces us to reconsider assumptions about the pyramid's internal architecture, reminding us that our understanding is always evolving as new evidence comes to light. This refinement, this adding of crucial detail, is precisely how our historical knowledge grows. Echoes in stone, other pyramid voids. The discovery of the North Face Corridor SPNFC isn't an isolated incident in the quest to understand the internal structure of the pyramids. It's actually one piece of a larger puzzle hinted at by the Scan Pyramids project and other research efforts over the years. Perhaps the most famous of these other potential hidden spaces is the so-called Scan Pyramids Big Void, SPBV, announced back in 2017. Located much deeper within the Great Pyramid, positioned above the magnificent Grand Gallery, the Big Void represents a truly massive anomaly. Initial estimates suggested this void is at least 30 meters, nearly 100 feet long, with a cross-section comparable to the Grand Gallery itself. Its detection primarily through muon tomography from various angles, including detectors placed inside the Queen's chamber and outside the pyramid, sent ripples through the Egyptological community. Its sheer scale and location above the main ascending passage leading towards the King's chamber make its potential significance enormous. Like the North Face Corridor, the exact nature and purpose of the Big Void remain unknown. Is it one enormous chamber or corridor? Is it inclined like the Grand Gallery below it or horizontal? Could it be a series of smaller connected spaces? Theories mirror those surrounding the NFC. It could be a massive, weight-relieving structure designed to protect the Grand Gallery's elaborate corbelled ceiling. Given the Grand Gallery's architectural complexity and scale, the need for significant structural relief above it seems plausible. Alternatively, some speculate it could relate to construction methods, perhaps an internal ramp or access space used during building, and inevitably, the more romantic notion persists. Could it be a hidden chamber, perhaps containing clues about Khufu or the pyramid's construction, sealed off for millennia? Current non-invasive data can confirm its existence and approximate dimensions, but cannot reveal its contents or precise form. Getting a camera inside the Big Void would be significantly more challenging than accessing the NFC, likely requiring drilling through many meters of solid stone. Beyond these two prominent voids detected by Scan Pyramids in Khufu's pyramid, the project also scanned other pyramids, like Khafre's neighboring pyramid and the Bent and Red pyramids at Dashur, seeking similar anomalies. While major discoveries on the scale of the Big Void haven't been announced for these other structures, the potential for hidden features exists. Earlier pyramids often had complex substructures and evolving designs. The Bent Pyramid famously changed angle mid-construction, suggesting internal spaces might have been adapted or sealed off. Furthermore, recent, more controversial claims surfaced in late 2024 or early 2025, based on different remote sensing techniques, synthetic aperture radar analysis, suggesting vast, deep underground structures and tunnel networks beneath the Giza Plateau connecting the pyramids. These claims, suggesting formations hundreds of meters deep, have been met with significant skepticism from mainstream Egyptologists like Dr. Zahi Hawass and radar experts who question the technology's ability to penetrate that deeply and the interpretation of the data. While intriguing, these reports lack the rigorous multi-method verification that characterized the Scan Pyramids discoveries and are not widely accepted. What the confirmed voids like the NFC and the Big Void demonstrate, however, is that the pyramid's internal architecture may indeed be more complex than the traditionally known layout. They serve as tangible reminders that these ancient monuments haven't yielded all their secrets, prompting the ongoing development and application of new technologies to continue the search. The next chapter, unlocking more secrets. The confirmation of the North Face corridor and the tantalizing presence of the much larger Big Void mark, not an end but rather a new beginning in the exploration of the Great Pyramid. The journey to fully understand these spaces and potentially uncover others is ongoing, driven by advancing technology and persistent scientific curiosity. What does the future hold for pyramid exploration? Further investigation of the North Face corridor is a logical next step. While the initial endoscopic probe provided invaluable visual confirmation, it offered only a limited view. Scientists are keen to get a more comprehensive look inside. This could involve deploying more sophisticated, perhaps steerable endoscopic tools through the existing insertion point to map the entire interior, examine the floor debris, scrutinize the walls and ceiling for tool marks or inscriptions, however unlikely, and get a clearer view of the southern end wall. More detailed GPR or ultrasonic scans from inside the corridor, if access allows, could probe the southern wall to definitively determine if any passage, even a filled one, lies beyond. Recent analysis of images has already revealed intriguing details like potential access holes cut into the floor, demanding closer inspection. The Big Void presents a much greater challenge. Its depth within the pyramid makes direct visual inspection incredibly difficult without significant intervention. However, continued and refined Muon tomography is key. New projects like the Exploring the Great Pyramid mission propose using even larger, more sensitive Muon telescopes placed outside the pyramid, moved to multiple positions around the base. The goal is to gather vastly more Muon data, potentially 100 times more sensitive than previous scans, allowing for true tomographic reconstruction. This could provide a much higher resolution 3D density map, potentially revealing the void's precise shape, horizontal or inclined, internal features, and possibly even detecting denser objects, artifact, within it, all non-invasively. Beyond Muons, researchers are continually exploring other non-invasive techniques. Could advancements in GPR, seismic imaging, or perhaps even acoustic methods eventually offer ways to probe deeper into the pyramid's core? The unique challenge lies in penetrating such a massive, dense, and internally varied structure. The development of specialized micro-robotics is another exciting frontier. Teams are working on designing tiny, agile robots capable of navigating narrow spaces or potentially even drilling minimally invasive micro-holes. While deploying such technology inside a protected monument requires extreme caution and approval, the concept holds promise for exploring voids like the NFC more thoroughly, or potentially even accessing the Big Void through existing small fissures or joints, if any, could be located leading towards it. Imagine a tiny robot inching its way into the Big Void, sending back the first images from that enormous hidden space. It's a scenario scientists are actively working towards.